welcome to the Theorem podcast. I'm Aspasia and I'm here to shed light on alternative contemporary knowledge and suggest feasible ways it can be incorporated into our lives. My guest is Chris Alefantis. Chris is of Greek origin but was born and raised in Australia. Chris has been a journalist for over 30 years. He is the founder and editor in chief of Shedia, the street magazine of Greece. In 2006, he created Goal στην Φτώχεια, which is a national homeless football team. Football as in soccer. This team's purpose is the activation and social reintegration of people experiencing poverty and social exclusion. Chris also runs Shedia Art and Shedia Home, two social and environmental programs which are enabling, empowering, as well as providing opportunities for education and employment to people who experience extreme poverty and social exclusion. Hello, dear Chris, and welcome to Theorem.
Kalimera, and thank you so much for the invitation.
Chris, let's explain a bit. What is a street magazine?
Okay, what the street paper is. Okay, what makes it different and how it differs from other
Hmm.
publications is that it is not sold or distributed through news agencies or newspaper kiosks, but it is sold exclusively down the streets of Athens and Thessaloniki in our case, and indeed in tens of cities around the world,
Hmm.
by people like you and me, with a very distinct difference that they are much poorer than us. Homeless people who experience poverty and social exclusion at extreme levels, may I say. And what happens is that out of the cover price, which in our case is €4, 250
Hmm.
is direct income to the vendors. So they sell a magazine for €4 and 250 goes in the straight into the pocket. Effectively, this means that people who have no other opportunities, no other ways, by doing essentially work and not through begging, they make a minimum amount of income to cover some of the most basic needs. Most importantly, however, and these are their words and not mine, the worst thing about poverty is the social exclusion bit, how you become invisible. Everybody seems to forget about you.
Hmm.
So Schedia is a social process which makes the invisible visible again. People wake up in the morning, they come to their offices, they pick up the copies, and they stand, proud and tall down Syntagma Square or Aristoteles in Thessaloniki, and they say, hey guys, I'm here,
Hmm.
say Kalimera to me, even if you don't buy the magazine. And if you read the stories of our vendors, which we publish in each issue, on the last page, we publish a story of one of our vendors,
Yes, it's
and
the
they
thing
are all on
I
our
always read
website as well.
first.
Yes, see, this is what, yes, I understand what you mean, because that's what I do too. And even though, they're in desperate need in some cases for €5 or €10 to buy, to cover some of the most basic needs, they don't talk about the money.
Hmm.
They talk how, people say Kalimera to
Yes,
me, I had this wonderful exchange. So we know that this is the most important part of Schedia as a social project, is that it connects people.
yes, yes. And this part always gives me the goosebumps. And now that you mentioned it, it happened again. And it's always their stories are stories of people who weren't lucky in the beginning, in their childhood, and they had it tough from the very beginning in most
Hmm.
cases.
Hmm.
And it's an opportunity for us also to feel grateful for what we have. And yeah, that's anyway how I think about it. But Chris, how did you get into this? What led you to work on this? It's such a huge project.
Okay, actually, I'm a journalist by profession,
Hmm.
and I used to be and still am surely a keen reader of the Australian street paper, the Big Issue Australia. So I knew the concept, yeah, right from the beginning. And but before the street paper, before Schedia, we kicked off our activities when back in 2007 we established a homeless football team for homeless people in Greece. Again, it was an idea that I had sort of that I saw first in Australia back in 2005. I was really so, I don't know, impressed or blown away to see, firsthand, how easy it is sometimes to make people happy
Hmm.
just by kicking the ball around. And people who had it really, really tough in their lives. I went to one of the training sessions of the Australian homeless football team as they were getting ready to go to Edinburgh for the Homeless World Cup back in 2005, and it was, I don't know, it was unbelievably touching and inspiring. And I always thought, this is can be, it's so easy to make people, to embrace people and make them happy again, make them smile again and laugh again and socialize and be active. So a few months later, that's back in 2005, I came to Greece. There were homeless people in Greece then. Nobody used to talk about them. Of course, nowhere near as many as in last decade. And that's how it clicked to me that I could start a similar project in Greece,
Mm-hmm.
form a homeless football team, so that people who are excluded from the joy of sport, of kicking a ball around, at least they have access to this. And through this wonderful activity, to get connected with themselves and with the rest of the world as well, and eventually, feel strong, empowered enough to move on with their lives and score victories in life, as we say, not necessarily on the football field. So that's how it started. And I remember contacting the Homeless World Cup. This is a global social football event, which is an amazing tournament. This year is taking place in Sacramento, USA. In July,
Mm-hmm.
we will be there, and we got invited to be, the Greek members of this amazing social sporting family. And I will never forget, our first participation in the Homeless World Cup back in Copenhagen in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And football wise, we're really atrocious. We're really horrible. But our motto is that we play football to become better people and not necessarily better footballers.
Uh-huh.
So in Copenhagen, it is where, for the first time, we won the Fair Play Award, which to us is the most important award in this kind of an event.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I got to talk with the International Network of Street Paper, because the Homeless World Cup started out of the street paper movement.
Mm-hmm.
They were in Cape Town, all these amazing people, from street papers all around the world in 2001, and had this very inspiring conversation, about how we are so many magazines supporting so many thousands of people around the world every day to be able to support themselves. How can we unite all these voices into one strong global voice against poverty?
Mm-hmm.
And they thought of football.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we were the only project to do it the other way, because they all had a street paper and they moved on to form a football team. We started with a football team, and 6 years later, Shedia hit the streets of us in
Mm-hmm.
2013, February 27,
So
2013.
10 years ago.
Yes.
One can claim that it's kind of like an oxymoron, how a person who cannot afford a shelter or food would want to play football. But what you're describing is completely different. That they're getting so much
Mm.
more and maybe things that they really need a lot more than they need a shelter or food.
See, that this is a question that I initially put to myself as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how is it possible that a homeless person would wish or should or whatever play football? But they're two different things. And of course, football is an amazing social tool, which engages, energizes, powers, and connects people.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way, some people are excluded from a home, from education, from employment, they are excluded from sport.
Mm-hmm.
So, to us, as I said, football and the football field is a step towards social inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
If you come to one of our training sessions, and you play football with us, I think it will hit you straight away that, these guys are about something different.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about football sort of a kind of systems and how we can somehow, destroy our opponents. But we talk about how we can change our life circumstance, how we can turn defeats into
Mm-hmm.
victories, life victories. So this is what it is about. And this is what we talk about, and how we try to use sport as a tool, which it is. It is a fantastic social tool to support people, support themselves outside the football.
So, Chris, what are the characteristics of these football players? Who are they?
We don't look for football players, yeah, we look for people. So, there are male and female, there can be 18, there can be 63 or 65, our oldest participant. It could be that, they've have played sport sometime in the past, or they just started. Miss Magda was 62, and she had only been playing football for 2 months when she became a member of our team in Glasgow, Homeless World Cup in
Mm-hmm.
2016. She was an amazing lady. Actually, that team was amazing. We had a female team consisting of street paper vendors, and half of them were between 54 to 63. You can imagine the
Yes.
amount. Of course, we considered, but They were such an inspiration. You had all these coaches from other teams and managers coming up to them, and they wanted their girls to talk to Kyria Magda or to Kyria Stella and talk about life. There was such a community leaders in every single sense of the word. So this is what we will talk about. This is what it is about. And of course, people. Okay, I will put it differently. People who come through our doors. We're talking about you and me who have lost everything. When we say everything, it could be money. It could be they've lost their jobs, their families. They've lost faith in themselves.
Mm.
There's anger. They've lost faith in society. There's anger. Society didn't support me. And we try, other than, apart from selling the magazine, to help people connect, connect with themselves and with the rest of the world. How do we do this? Is this a football game? Is it a petanque game? A running
Mm-hmm.
team? Is it a theater group? Is it going to a concert? Is it going to a museum to see some famous painter exhibition? So it's about providing people with the opportunity, with access to the simple joys of life
Mm-hmm.
that you and I are still blessed or lucky enough to still have access to.
Mm-hmm.
And through this process, to connect again, and feel stronger and get empowered and eventually move out of Shedia. I always, we had this conversation yesterday as well with an amazing guy from Germany. Uh, what I've realized over the last 10 years and being, with Skeria and talking with these amazing people every day, you know, it's about this poverty trap. If you are
Mm-hmm.
poor, it feels that, and you are just so focused on finding €5 to buy something to eat that you can't think, you can't dream. They have no desires, no epithemias.
Yep.
And what we try to do is make sure that people have epithemias and they have desires,
Mm-hmm.
that they want to do things other than, finding today.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Schedia, and we say this, it's in Schedia, it's epithemias,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
trying to provide, to support people to feel happy with themselves again.
Mm-hmm. And what is the result? What happens when people go through playing in this team or through having this job?
What happens is that what we really try to do is that people move on and leave Schedia behind.
Mm-hmm.
When people ask me what's your vision about Schedia, absolutely our vision is for Schedia to shut down, someday, and there is no need for any Schedias around the world. Actually, this is central to our 10th anniversary celebrations. We want to, our part of our narrative is how can we make sure collectively and individually that we don't celebrate our 20th
Yes,
anniversary. You
yes,
know what I'm
wow,
saying?
yes.
So this is what it is
Uh-huh.
about. If I may say this, you know, setting up Schedia actually was our response and our reaction to how we angry that Schedia had to exist,
Mm-hmm.
if I can say this. You know what I mean? So this is what it is about. We want to make sure that people move on, that we don't need a Schedia anymore. This is what we strive for anyway.
And how often does this happen?
Very often.
Mm-hmm.
When you come to Schedia home or hub in central Athens, as soon as you walk in, if you lift your head a bit, you will see 54 lampshades in the shape of a home hanging from the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these lampshades are part of a social and environmental project. Schedia Art are made out of our old magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Our magazines are unsold copies. So each lampshade, each house, actually, it's a house, shape of a house, is a person who through Schedia, he or she moved out of homelessness and into a home. And every time this is happening, we hang up another lampshade to light up the place in our hearts and souls as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just outside our main door, if you look up a bit, you will see 158 paper boats made out of our old magazines hanging.
Mm-hmm.
Each paper boat again is a person who came through Schedia and he or she left Schedia when they found a job again.
Mm-hmm.
On many occasions, and they embarked on this new journey in their lives. On many instances, this job was found through Schedia's initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what it is about, and these are the number of people, the people that we know that what sort of how they progress.
Hmm.
Because I'm sure out of the tens of people who just disappear, because some people, they're vendors today and they don't come
Hmm.
tomorrow, and they don't say yeah, whatever, bye. We want to believe that most of them disappeared for all the good reasons.
I hope so as well. I love how you talked about this cycle, cycle of people who found the way out of poverty, and again, this the cycle about how the magazines are repurposed and upcycled into new
Hmm.
items. So I would like to go to the element of play. The element
Hmm.
of play, in my opinion, is underrated. I believe that is seriously missing from
Hmm.
the our adult lives. And I'm kind of jealous of the people who have the opportunity to have it in their lives. But could you please tell us about how the element of play is a catalyst in what you're doing with the homeless national team?
Okay, how it is a catalyst. Actually, think of 8 people, ranging from 2022 to
Mm-hmm.
62, who are invisible in this part of the world,
Mm-hmm.
and in 6 months they will be getting on a plane
Mm-hmm.
to go to Sacramento and be part of an international, such a huge international Yorti celebration festival, social sporting festival.
Fascinating.
Uh, yes, I think you somehow have been convinced, not convinced, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
that I failed in my life,
Mm-hmm.
but all of a sudden you realize that maybe things are not that bad, and you're not that bad after all.
Uh-huh.
You made it to such an amazing global social event, and we see, I remember a lady who had serious problems for many, many years and experiencing extreme poverty and social exclusion. She was part of our team in Mexico. She was about 35 or 40 at the time in 2018. And after we came back, she said to us that this is the first time in my
Mm-hmm.
life that I'm sharing a happy story, a feel good story,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm also part of it. Wow.
Yep.
Anybody.
Ne?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or and it's some we have a very good relationship with an orphanage in Thessaloniki,
Mm-hmm.
and we always try to have these amazing young ladies, joining our team, and they come to Homeless World Cup or to training, and I can see, you can tell that it is changing the perception of how they see life itself, and not just football. You know, as I said to you about Miss Magda, she was 62
Mm-hmm.
in Glasgow, and she had been playing football for 3 months, and she came back and to us, and she became a community leader because Miss Magda, she went to all these schools to talk about
Mm-hmm.
social football and social inclusion and her life story.
Wow.
And so the burden on her backside,
Mm-hmm.
she herself transformed into a powerful educational tool and a great story to tell to younger people
Mm-hmm.
to help them understand what it is about.
Yes. So if I had to translate what you're saying into one word, I would say andilogos. Andilogos is a Greek word that means the first part is anti, the opposite, and the
Hmm.
second part is logos, which means reason and speech and all of these things. So I don't know how to translate this in English, but what you're describing is the andilogos, the counter. How would you say it? I don't know. To everything these people have experienced. If you know what I'm saying, do you understand?
Yeah. I prefer to talk about connecting people,
Okay.
yeah, and connecting them with themselves
Mm-hmm.
and with the rest of the world as well,
Mm-hmm.
because this is what we do through sport,
Mm-hmm.
like. 5 years ago, we've got this mobile football pitch, which was a donation by Nyakos
Hmm.
Foundation. And 5 years ago, we took this pitch with this amazing group of people, homeless people, to 17 refugee camps.
Hmm.
Yeah, and how football team participants they became community leaders because they went to Thessaloniki Softer refugee camps. We were there 5 o'clock in the morning. We set up the football pitch, and they themselves gave joy
Hmm.
to refugee kids and their families. It's an unbelievable journey for them as well.
Hmm.
And mind you, through this process, they themselves were helped to overcome their own, perhaps, prejudices as well. Yeah, when it comes to refugees and asylum
Absolutely.
seekers and everything. Yeah. So, or another story that we always talk about is how quite a few members of our team, they've got a drug abuse background.
Hmm.
Yeah, they are in drug rehab and everything, and I will never forget Yanis, a young guy, about 30 years old, when he came to our team in 2009. And initially, he was really, really perplexed, reserved, and he wanted to leave our team.
Hmm.
He didn't wish to stay. And he talked with his therapist in the Cartoano, and they talked about it. And why was this happening? Because
Hmm.
Yanis, in the face of our participants, of his co-players from African countries, he would see, the face of his drug dealer.
Oh.
He used to be an African man.
Oh.
So, he made this connection, and it was very, very difficult for him. It took him back.
Hmm.
So he had to work on it, and he did through playing football with these guys, and he overcame so many psychological challenges that he had, with regards to his situation. So this is what the beautiful game of football can do to society and to people.
Yeah. Um, you had mentioned when we last talked that the Greek national homeless football team had won the Fair Play Award in the national championship 6 times, which is the most times any team has ever won that award.
Yes, we're so proud of it. I mean, if you Google that, you will see it. And this is what we talk about. As we prepare for Sacramento.
Hmm.
First of all, I have to say to you that the selection criteria, are not football
Hmm.
criteria, which is very, very easy if you have this kind of a criterion. Yeah, that objectively you are the best goal scorer, so you will be part of the team. So we use social criteria, reward desire, our adhering to the principles of our team, to being on time, and we try to, which is really, really difficult. It's we try to figure out and think, okay, who's going to be benefiting the most? Who's going to be taking the most out of this trip? Which is not easy. Yeah, it's not easy at all. So these are and of course we try to be a very inclusive team. Whether they are asylum seekers or male or female, whether they're 22 or 62. So we try, because poverty is not about 20-year-old boys, who know how to kick a ball around. Poverty is about all of
Hmm.
us.
Hmm.
And this is the message we're trying to send as
Hmm.
well.
So, Chris, how can a person who happened for any reason to be in such state in their lives, how can they change things around? How can you help? How can they get help? What you have so much experience in this.
Still, I'm not sure I can answer this question for everyone
Uh
else,
huh.
but what I can safely share with you is the way we try to do
Mm-hmm.
things, very discreetly, by looking the people, straight in the
Mm-hmm.
eyes, by understanding that poverty, homelessness, when we talk about a homeless person, it's not just one special category of people, it's everyone. Our vendors, football sort of project participants, they can be male or female, they can be left hand writing or right hand writing, they can be lefties or right wing supporters, they can be really soft and shy, they can be aggressive and more. It's us.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we realize that, and we try to cater for each individual's needs and temperament as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's very, very important to realize that when we talk about homelessness, it is not one special category of person, of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of us. It's everything. Like in Shedia, we've got many, many people. Of course, they were unskilled laborers, and they were the first victims of the socio-economic crisis 10 years ago. But through the ranks of Shedia, we have seen architects, journalists, graphic
Oh,
designers,
wow.
accountants,
Okay.
of course, many, many business people,
Mm-hmm.
whose lives were destroyed through due to the
Mm-hmm.
crisis. You know the saying, that most of us two salaries away from becoming homeless.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happened to Shedia vendors.
Yes, this can be true for so many of us.
I live off my monthly income. If I lose this in 6 months, I'm not sure how I'm going to be paying my bills. You know what I mean? This
Yes.
is this is so true for so many people around the
Mm-hmm.
world.
Mm-hmm.
Over the last few years in Australia, not only in Australia, they talk about the working homeless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people who have a job, but they just don't make enough money, and they live in homeless
Oh,
shelters.
wow. I'm wondering if a person wants to create change, to bring about change for others and for society and for the environment, which is something that you're doing already. How can this person start? Where can we start? And how can we actually make our dream come true? Because everything.
If you
Can,
care, what I firmly
Mhm.
believe, if someone cares, you will find a way. Yeah. It's like, we've got a few years ago, we formed a petanque team, the French bull game, with it's like, which is an amazing, simple sport, just trying to hit a small ball with your bigger metal ball, whatever.
Mhm.
And this is and I always say to people, come play petanque with us or come play football with us. This is really being socially active and affecting change. It's not too difficult. You could just, if you really want to embrace the person who is in need next to
Mhm.
you, it's so easy to do it. And there is always a way. There is always there. And you don't have to think, by doing the simple things right, just saying Kalimera to Shedia vendor
Mhm.
without buying the magazine. Just say, Yasu,
Mhm.
Christo, how are you? This is bringing change.
So being human. Really,
Yes,
yes,
exactly,
yes.
exactly. Just by caring, it's yeah.
I'll
I'm,
ask one more
I'm,
thing.
I'm,
If someone wants to help Skythia uh, by other than buying the magazine, how can we help you?
You can come and help in the
Hmm.
workshops, the upcycling workshops. They can come and play football with us. They can come and play petanque with us. Just so they can even just go for a stroll around the pitches where vendors are selling the magazine and say Kalimera to
Hmm.
them. This is this. It's not hard at all, honestly. Believe me, it's so easy, and it's you feel so good about it at the end of it too.
Well, I cannot think of any other questions right now. Θέλεις εσύ να προτείνεις κάτι?
What I wish to share, which is I think it's very, very
Mm-hmm.
important, people like us who have lost everything, it doesn't matter whether they sell Shedia down the streets of Kifissia and Sidagma, or whether they make earrings through the process of upcycling our old magazines, or whether they cook a strapachada in a kitchen. They don't ask for pity or for a favor, yeah. They ask for an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. And this is what we try to provide. This is very, very important to service. They are amazing people like all of us are. And another thing is that we strive as Shedia to make sure that the person who is supporting Shedia and them are getting the best possible service.
Mm-hmm.
We try to have a great magazine every month in your hands. We went to a Michelin star chef for our first
Mm-hmm.
menu. We went to amazing designers for our interior design, for or to an award-winning mixologist for our cocktails, because we want to make sure that you're going to be part of it because it's a lot of fun for you, and you are benefiting yourself directly through interacting with Shedia. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure that you're going to come to our cafe because the cocktails are amazing, and knowing that at the very same moment I'm enjoying this cocktail, at this very moment I participate in a social project. Wow, how cool and easy it is. So that's what it is about. And Kiria
Mm-hmm.
Leni, who at 67, has a job in our kitchen. She feels so well when people say to her, υπέροχη
Mm-hmm.
στραπατσάδα.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great, great. I really love reading the magazine. I appreciate the independent, I don't know if that's what it's called, journalism. I mean, things that you don't read anywhere else, really. And some things, subjects that are very close to my heart, such as health and nutrition and mental health. I really like the your point of view as a magazine. It's a very rare one, and I appreciate it. And yeah, you're doing a great job. And thank you very, very much for sharing everything and being here with us.
Thank you so very much. Ευχαριστώ πάρα
Και
πολύ.
εγώ.
Και σας περιμένουμε.
Thank you for listening to the Theorem podcast. Connect with me on social media at Aspasia Provu and at theorem.podcast and share your thoughts. You may support us on Patreon. Visit the website aspasiaprovu.com/theorem for more. Τα λέμε σύντομα. Meaning talk to you soon in Greek. Aspasia's Theorem podcast does not provide advice, medical or any other kind. It just presents the opinions of its host and guests. If you have any specific problems, please visit your physician or a medical expert for help. Anything said should not be taken as a replacement for medical, clinical, or professional advice, diagnosis, or medical intervention. The episodes of Aspasia's Theorem podcast may, at times, cover sensitive topics, including, but not limited to, mental health, nutrition, health, politics, spirituality, alternative medicine, energy healing, and the use of plant medicines. You're advised to refrain from continuing if you are adversely impacted by any of these topics.